Thanks again. Hey, Mark.
Hey, how you doing?
We're getting there. How you doing?
Hey, Mark.
Good. I'm good. I'm really good.
Good. Beats the alternative, right?
Yeah, yeah. Hey, we're almost through it. We're almost through it.
All right, so we got you down for distribution system improvements.
Yes, it's actually like my last three projects. Totally never been on a capital plan. It's all PFAS contamination related.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a 4.7 million. I thought I attached a sheet that had the roads and the feet to get the number. We're talking Arkansas Avenue, Long Pond, Pine Grove, Chatham Road, Miller's Lane, Ramus Court, and that's where the list stops for this capital year that we're talking about. There is a much bigger list. These are all roads that have private wells that have been contaminated with PFAS, and it's above drinking water standards. It's not safe to drink. So I have to push off other capital improvement projects that I had planned and extend the water mains out to these areas.
Okay. Questions for Mark on this one?
Yeah, when you
Howard?
give us I guess you're giving us documentation for to supplement this for the total with real estimates or with a breakdown of your estimates. It would be very
Yeah, so
interesting.
I think what I hope it got attached. I take our most recent price per foot bid, which was actually Tom's Way that is contaminated with PFAS, and we just ran a water main down Tom's Way off of Old South. And it was about $310 a foot for that. So for this, since it's 2 years out, we're projecting, after talking to some contractors that usually bid on our projects and general census from American Water Works, the guesstimate with the Nantucket price compared to everybody else for 2026 is going to be about $340 a foot. There's 9,290 feet of pipe in that street list. We got a design cost of $150,000. OPM oversight and inspection for $750, and I always throw in a 20% contingency, which is about $640,000. So when you take the $3.2 million for the pipe design, the engineering oversight and contingency, I come up with a $4.7 million for a total project to get water into those streets.
Gotcha. Howard, your question was about the overall total too, but I think you're looking at the total cost in the introduction.
Yeah.
So that's a remnant of the discussion we had with Sue earlier.
I guess in your description, it would be nice to know. I didn't see how many feet. It'd be kind of nice.
Right. Maybe I thought I attached some stuff. Maybe it didn't go through.
Yeah.
I usually do.
No, it's there. Howard, can you not see it? It's an Excel document if you open it.
I can't open it.
So you've got to set your browser to download maybe, because it's not opening an Excel spreadsheet. It's an Excel spreadsheet, so it's not opening it within the browser environment, so you got to download it.
I see it here now. Yeah, I see the numbers. Yeah. I didn't see it before because I couldn't open it. So pardon me. And I
usually, if I would have got, I requested bid canvas sheets, what we call them, from our last three bids that we have developed. And I'm waiting. So the next year's capital, I'll have Matacasham Valley, west of the airport, Monahans, that whole project, Tom's Way, that whole project. And we put it into a bid canvas format. And then that allows me to adjust future costs to what we think they're going to be. And you can see past projects and how we're coming up with these numbers of like $340 a foot to do a pipe project in 2026.
Everything that's on your attachment is what I was going to ask. So thank you very much.
Yep.
Anything else? John?
No, I'm good.
Jill? No? Okay. Mark?
Actually, I just had one bigger question.
Yep.
Mark, how do you decide what the priority is. Do they have a higher level of PFAS than other wells or?
Yeah, so when we ran the wells out, when we ran the water main, 2 years ago out to Matacasham Valley Road, those people were in, few of them were like 200 parts, so it's pretty, anything over 200 or 300 parts, I don't even think they like you bathing in it, so we had to put that one first. Then we went west of the airport to Monahanset, Skyline, Orkawa. Those people were all, not all over the limit, but all right around and close to the limit, and if they were over, it was over by 10 or 20 parts. Still not good. And in the middle of that project, that's when they discovered Tom's Way was in the several hundred parts, higher than the airport, higher than Matacasham Valley. I don't know where it's coming from on Tom's Way. In the middle of nowhere, it's always been woods and houses. They had some that were 700, 800 parts, so we literally left west of the airport project on Monahanset to go over and start Tom's Way. We just finished both of those this spring. And now I look at this list, and I listed them, they're almost in order of contamination level. So Arkansas has had the most hits. And I kind of did it that way too. I factor in how many homes are on that road and how many people are affected. And I'm not saying because Miller's Lane and Ramus Court only have small number of homes on them and they're not important. But I think it's more important for us to get the capital funding approval from you guys and go get the most bang for the buck. And if I can help 50 people on Arkansas with the first go, then that's the place to start. And I don't know if it's the right way to do it or the wrong way to do it. This is all new to us. That's just the way we've been doing it.
Yeah, no, and no judgment for me. I was curious. I'm sure it's hard to prioritize because a lot of people have it in their water.
This isn't
also,
going to end for me.
no,
My
aren't there new
my whole
PFAS? Sorry.
My whole capital plan is that whole thing I had all set up with all the, it's gone. With all the DEPs coming down in September and drilling more wells all around looking for PFAS, they're going to start looking more in Nantucket out by the dump. It's going to continue to grow, and eventually, I mean, I'm going to run out of permit, pump the water. I'm going to be over my permit, and I'll have to stop. But I see for the next foreseeable, maybe 4, 5, 6 years, it's going to be me extending pipe to places that people need the safe drinking water.
And aren't there more PFAS, I mean, coming online? Like, aren't there new ones every day? Aren't there like thousands of them that you, or at least
There's over
hundreds?
8,000 compounds, and they're finding hundreds every week, right? So it's just growing and
So
growing.
how does DEP, they're the ones that are telling you what to test for. Do you get a new one from them quarterly or a handful,
so
list of them, or what?
in October, we're doing a thing called an unregulated contaminant sampling, where they'll look at everything that they don't regulate and see what all the water departments and public water supplies have. So if there'll be if there's new PFAS compounds that are being detected in multiple places in New England or in Massachusetts, they'll start adding those to our list of ones we have to look at. Right now, we look at six of the compounds, 6 of the 8,000 or so compounds. That's it. And there are thousands of them. So this is just going to continue to grow.
Yeah. But you've kind of got to wait for the state, right?
I do have to wait for the state. We do sample for above and beyond because, like, when a contaminated thing like on Tom's Way, that's right across the street from my wells. And I'm so nervous that I almost threw it in for 2026, but I didn't. Don't be surprised for 2027 if I have a huge capital request for some type of treatment plant here at Wannacomet.
Wow.
It's 600 feet away from our pumping wells, Tom's Way.
Right. No, it's right there.
So it's across the street.
And so you're able.
I've already started to ballpark those prices, and you're talking. So Barnstable had to do it because of Barnstable Airport contamination, and those guys were probably, I don't know, $17 or $18 million into a PFAS treatment. And with the Nantucket factor of about 150 to 160% of off island, I mean, you're talking over 20 million. I need one in each well. So if I got it across the street here from Tom's Way, I have 3 wells behind my office. You're looking at like $50–60 million in treatment if it gets here.
And Mark, this could be 2027, you said?
Maybe. I've turned wells off, so I wouldn't pull it in. So we're running kind of lean on the system, and it's putting a lot of stress on the system. And that, I don't know if any of you have noticed, or if you're on town water, there might have been a few instances during the week, throughout the summer, each week, where the water pressure wasn't that great, because I've been turning the wells off. So I don't want to pull that stuff across the street. I don't want to pull it over to the wells. So I have the well closest to Tom's Way is off. I haven't run it all summer. I'm not worried about pulling it across the street.
I mean, Mark, if you had to put a percentage factor on the possibility of you wanting this and us having to do this in 2027, what would that be? Is it like a 50-50, or is it a lot higher than that?
No, I don't think it's that high yet, because I have that off. If I can get approval from Mass DEP, finish the new well that I'm installing out at North Pasture, which is much further away, and no worries, I could literally replace production with that new well. It's in the approval process at Mass DEP right now. Actually, for 2025 capital last year, I put in the few million to build the new pump station, and I can't do that until I get approval to install that new well, because the Commonwealth owns the resource. The town of Nantucket doesn't, so I have to get permission from them to pump water. They are well aware of all the contamination around the well field and the contamination on the island. So I hope that speeds up the process, and I'm hoping by 2027 that I have my pump station built and my new well out at North Pasture, our North Pasture site, which is out by the Girl Scout camp, past Don Allen on Pulpus Road, where the water tower is. I hope that well is up and running, and I can isolate these wells right here behind my office that are closest to Tom's Way. If that's not the case, then, you know, I can't go forever without running the wells back there. We just won't make it as we're building more and more, and I'm adding hundreds of customers. I mean, I just added all of Matacasham Valley, I think, and all of west of the airport was close to 200 customers. Each customer demands water every day, so my pumps have to pump more to meet that demand. So it's kind of a double-edged sword. I got to bring the water out to these people to supply them with clean water, but for me to do that, I have to pump more water. If I pump more water, I might bring the contamination to me.
We're very fortunate we got you there, my friend.
I'm trying, but it's like a balancing act.
Thanks, Mark.
Hey, Mark, so I think a couple of things. One, primarily out years. Your PFAS is clearly disrupting your regular capital operations.
Yes. Yes.
It'd be beneficial for us, you know, I'm sure you're aware of it, I'm sure the Water Commission, but it would be beneficial for us to see a list of those projects with, even if they're placeholder numbers of $1.
Okay.
And then we can, you know, ask questions about them as we go. So I'd ask that you know, in your spare time, you work that in. If there is a particular project that you think is going to be of a very significant amount of money, like you're just talking about adjacent to the shop there, it'd be beneficial to include some, you know, industry extrapolation of price, including the Nantucket factor. I think that's going to be really important for capital program reviewing out years and anticipating costs. And, you know, as you know, PFAS is a pretty hot topic, and it's probably going to be beneficial to start to get these numbers out there to people. I understand there may be a reason or a rationale with respect to not having a full handle on them as a reason to not post numbers. But I think for our process, we need to start to get a handle on the potential relative expense over the next 10 years or even the next 5 years. And
Okay.
that goes for
I
your,
I can definitely include that in
Okay.
the next sheet markup. I'll put in, like I have in the past, a written summary with, some graphs and charts and prices from other towns. And, you know, we're not the only ones dealing with this, so people are getting creative. There is some government funding available. Hopefully we would qualify for some of that. A lot of times when I tried to get money for west of the airport, we were told we were gonna get it. And then they decide there are other communities that aren't as privileged as Nantucket, and we don't get the money. Even though we do qualify, I don't think we're gonna be very successful in getting grant money.
gotcha. The other aspect of that, Mark, would be helpful is, water main replacements, water main extensions. Go ahead and put those in the out years for the next 5 years, so we have an idea of what the kind of conflict is or needs relative to the amount of money that can be spent on projects.
Okay.
Want to comment and overall within the town, just to give, that would be a helpful, metric and gives us some direction.
Right. I took those off, Steve, because I didn't know if you guys wanted to see. I know it makes sense now that you say that. I should have left them on there, and then if I add the potential for the PFAS impacted areas, then you would get an overall number of what the number could possibly be at its biggest.
Yeah, and you've always been great with it. I know you got the numbers, so it's just a matter of, reminding you to please communicate them to us. For me, where we're going is much more important than where we were, so those are important numbers. I wanted to, two quick other things. One, I think, can you just speak briefly to the decision-making group, in particular PFAS? I mean, my understanding is, you're our consummate professional. The Water Commission weighs in on policy, and there's some involvement from town admin, because the PFAS affects town overall. Is that generally the way it is, or is there a different process involved? I think it's good information for the people have at home, people who watch the YouTube, so I thought I'd ask.
Right. So the Board of Health kind of controls the private well sampling for PFAS. There is a group that I am part of, that meet weekly. It's actually every Thursday. Every Thursday we meet to talk about PFAS with our consultants. The town, I think Nantucket in general is way ahead of other communities. They've done a great job between here at Wannacomet sampling for PFAS back in 2012 before it was even required to sample for PFAS. We were looking for it because I would rather know than wait to find out. The town got consultants involved in looking at the island PFAS cycle and where it's generated, how it's moved around, and we're doing really good. And I think it's a concerted, kind of a group effort from different individuals and different groups that are kind of spearheading this whole thing. When it comes to the public water supply stuff, obviously that comes through me and the commission, and we're controlled by Mass DEP and what we have to do with that.
Gotcha, thank you. Last one is just a quick aspect of the testing. Are you guys recording the depth of wells or whomever's requiring the testing, the Board of Health, Like,
Yes.
What that wellhead depth is?
Yes, so when we get the depth of wells, you mean when we find contamination in a well?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, yes, so we're doing that, and what we're finding is the deeper wells seem to be a little bit less impacted, even though PFAS is a compound that's kind of lazy. Like if it's on a couch, it's going to spread out. It's not a floater or a sinker. It just kind of goes everywhere. But right now, the data is kind of showing that it's staying in the upper levels of the aquifer. There is some down low, but not as high a concentration. We're tracking all of that. currently working with a group of guys to finish our hydraulic model, which will incorporate a freight and transport portion where I can put in these plumes and this information about PFAS and groundwater flow direction and find out where it's gonna go and how my pumping from one of my public water supply wells will affect that plume.
That's great information, Mark. That's exactly where I was going with it. I was kind of curious, you know, obviously in a very real sense right now, it's firefighting. But these are forever chemicals, so forecasting is going to be very important, and the hydrological modeling, 3D mapping is probably going to be a really great resource. I had confidence you were probably doing it, but hearing it from you makes me feel better.
Yeah, it should be done in a couple of months. I think it's done, and please, once we get it up and running, any of you guys feel free to let me know, and we can come in and I'll show you a demo.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's not gonna help us stop it, but well, it is in the sense of, maybe pumping restrictions in certain areas at certain times. But,
Right.
it's gonna help us to anticipate where we're going as a community with respect to costs. So that's really good information. Thank you.
Hey, Mark, it's
Yep.
John. It's John again.
Yep.
I'd like to, get some time with you, if I may, with a different hat on, with my planning board hat and my MPEDC hat, because, you know, listening to you talk today is really, really, you know, good information. But, you know, we're in the process of updating, you know, the town master plan.
Yep.
The MPEDC is getting a lot more serious about long-range planning. And I'm kind of feeling like, clean water, is up there, you know, in my view anyway, with affordable housing. This is something we don't have a choice about, so we should be really understanding from you what this means for, you know, our strategic plan, for the town for the next 15 years, because that's what it is. It's updated every 15 years. So, if I may, I'd love to come over and, you know, talk a bit more about that.
Anytime.
Thanks, Mark.
Thanks, Mark. Any other questions for Mark at this point? All right, we'll cut you free, Mark. If you would.
Okay.
If you wouldn't mind, just updating the list.
Sure.
Talk with Sue, just as, your list of current projects and any others that you have, and maybe just putting a placeholder $1 mark. So we know which years, for instance, you're anticipating you would be looking at having expenditures. And then maybe,
Okay.
we can work on filling in some numbers.
Okay. Yeah, I can put that together.
Okay, we appreciate it. Thank you very much.
All right. See you guys.
Take care. Let's see.